Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is from a legendary Detroit band from the 80s that I always loved. They always packed at every place they played, put out several recordings. One of their biggest hits, of course, was called Time to Move. I'm talking about Bittersweet Alley. And today, my guest is lead guitarist, lead vocalist, Gary Spaniola. How you doing today, Gary?
Good. How are you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to finally be able to talk to you. All right, let's get started. Give me a little background on where from the Detroit metropolitan area that you originally grew up and what got you into music.
Grew up around the Warren area, around, what is that, Mount Ryan, 11, 12 mile area there. That's what started. And like probably 90% of people my age, maybe 95, watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. That was the trigger. I said, they do what? I was like, yes. Yeah, I was in love with music from then on out, and that's all that mattered to me. I started, playing. I just used to practice nonstop. My mother used to say, why don't you go out and do drugs with your friends? Jokingly. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, that started. And met a buddy through another friend in school, Dave Gerson, that played drum. We were young. We were 12 years old, and that's when we started Bittersweet Alley.
At 12? You started a band when you were 12?
Yeah, I mean, we were playing out till I was 13, I think, when we started playing out. Yeah.
Really? Where would you have been playing at the age of?
Junior highs.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk a little bit. I have a book out called Moments, and in there are pictures of my first gig we ever played at Bittersweet Alley. There's a picture of it in there, which is kind of funny, and it says the date and my age and all that. Yeah, so we started playing high schools and junior highs. I remember riding my bike to all of them within like a 5-mile radius, saying, can we please play? Give us $100 or something, and we had set up and play.
Well, you made more money than my first band at 15. We were playing kind of the same thing, but most of the time we weren't getting paid. So you did good as far as that. What drew you to the guitar specifically? You mentioned the Beatles. Is that pretty much what drew you to playing guitar specifically?
Yes, I would. Because I mean, at the time when I was 10 or something, I started. I didn't even know what a bass was. Like, what's that thing? And I knew drums. My parents, no way. I mean, we then 8 of us, and the dog and the chicken. There's no way I'm going to get a drum. So the guitar was hard enough. I had to jump through hoops and get paper out, and not that my parents were strict in that regards. They just, money was tight.
Yeah,
so
I know.
If you're going to do something, you're going to have to love it, or else they're not going to do it.
Well, speaking of that first gig that you said you played, let's take you back in the Wayback Machine a little bit. Do you remember what guitar you were playing at that time? What kind of guitar? Because I know you played mostly Les Pauls. But what were you playing at that time?
That was a red Epiphone, which I wish I still had. I mean, a lot of guitars I had back then. I was like, they have back.
Sure.
It was a red Epiphone, and it was played at Butcher Junior High, which is in Warren, right down the street. We played, it was the Battle of the Bands. And there was a group, which you might be aware of, that actually won. It was the first time we ever played, and the first time we ever lost. We came in second place. But the winners of the Battle of the Bands was the Motor City Mutants. Remember those guys?
Yeah. So American.
Which blew my mind, because these guys were like 19 years old.
Right.
How did they get in there? But I mean, still we were like, I was amazed when I heard them. I thought they were fantastic. And I became friends with Steve Sorter and all those guys throughout the year. But yeah, it's I started at the beginning. When you're 12, 13, back then the whole thing of first of all, I could never afford a Les Paul. It was impossible.
Right.
Everything was saving up money, paper route, getting a job, doing this, whatever, just to get equipment.
Right.
I remember working a job, and then I got enough and I quit.
Right.
Got my guitar, I'm done.
I imagine at that time you were doing what, mostly covers?
All covers, yeah,
All
everything.
covers?
We didn't start writing till when I was 15, started playing the bar. Back then, the drinking age was 8.
Right.
So, there's another story in that, but everyone used to show up from the school, and it was funny because the whole entire club was the size of my mom's front room, and it was just all kids from school.
Right.
And then it emptied out. I'll go into something real quick, but it's really worth reading. It's called Johnny Be Good. Story is we're playing this club 15, Friday packed, Saturday packed, Sunday, about 10 o'clock, club empties out. And we're like, oh, that's right. Everybody's going home because of school. And they're responsible drinkers, 15. And bikers start flooding the club. There's a bikers club across the street.
Oh,
and it was like we were scared scared, like, oh my gosh. And they requested a song, Johnny Be Good. We're like, we don't know that. Went to the next song. Then they requested it again, real loud. We don't know that. Then they threw a bullet on the stage. And we went, okay, we're going to play that. And they start playing Johnny Be Good. And they all became buddies of the band. And they actually saved my life in a future gig. But it's the whole thing. You have to read the book to get into that.
Okay.
Quite amazing.
It's interesting they would have asked you for Johnny Be Good as opposed to Born to Be Wild. I know that was always a big biker favorite, but Johnny Be Good. Yeah, that was one of the first songs, I learned to play. I was a bass player and keyboard player, but Johnny Be Good, you had to play Johnny Be Good.
Oh, you had to. Yeah, it was a standard. We messed around with all those tunes. We knew all the old Chuck Berry and all that stuff. I mean, really, as you know, they're all, O'Carroll and all, they're all the same chord structures.
Right.
It's just, different singing to them. So, yeah, it was funny, though. I think we started one of our cover songs. I forget what it was. And I remember standing up there and I saw a bullet hit the stage. And I was like, oh, crap. And I stopped and I just immediately started playing Johnny Be Good. And then they all started screaming, yeah. And we're like, oh, cool. Okay.
When you say a bullet hit the stage, somebody shot it or threw it at you?
No. Someone threw a cartridge, an actual shell with a bullet. Kind of like being a smart ass. Right. Crazy.
That would be a scary thing that, especially at that age, not having to deal with that before.
Exactly, yeah.
So when exactly did you start writing original material for Bittersweet Alley?
We started, real loosely around 13, 14. Dave Gersten, who was our drummer at the time, I came over one day and he said, oh, I wrote a song. And I was like, what? You can do that? I didn't know. You're young. You just want to play rock and roll. You don't know. It was, some silly song and he got the words from a poster or something that was on the wall. I was like, oh. So from that's when we started writing. Him and I would write stuff together. Probably about the third song we wrote, we went to the studio, I think 16 or 17 at the time. Saturday Insane was the song. There's another song, I Took Everything I Had. It was on the B-side, I remember.
Right.
And we recorded that at L'Oreal Ross, where Bob Seger used to record, where Pampa Lanes used to be in 13. Yeah, they had a great studio there, which was quite amazing. Years later, about 3 years later, I ended up buying a ton of that old equipment that no one wanted. It was all the tube gear, which became very valuable.
Vintage.
But at the time, no one wanted it.
That's interesting. And what kind of amplification were you using back in those days?
The early stuff was mostly whatever we could get our hands on. Usually Fenders. But once I plugged into a Marshall, I was done. It was like, that's it. Marshall, and I also used Music Man, the early stuff. That's actually Fender.
Right.
Neil Fender started Music Man. And it has the Fat DT preamp stuff. It's all, it's like the vintage old stuff. So, but yeah, Marshall was my main amp, throughout the whole time.
Well, you mentioned Gary as a drummer. Is he the same? Oh, Dave, I'm sorry, you're Gary. He's the same guy that played guitar, isn't he?
Yeah, but he started out playing drums in the band.
Wow.
Yeah. He's multi-talented. He's like, how do you play guitar? So I started showing him a few chords, and then he started singing, and then he was our singer, and we said, well, a singer can't play drums, so we got a drummer. He went out and started playing guitar.
And keys, apparently, too, because he's listed on the CD here as also playing keys. Do you play anything else other than guitar? Do you play keyboards or anything?
Yeah, I play everything. All the stuff on my website, all of my solo albums, everything you hear, no one is playing another instrument on any of it. Played the drums, the bass, guitars, keys, vocals, everything. Yeah, it kind of like once I started the recording studio and I got involved, I had to be versed in kind of all of it. My weakest instrument is the drums. But I can play them. But especially nowadays, it's my new album I've coming out. Probably my best drum work I've ever done. But I play pads, and then it triggers drum samples that I recorded in the studio years ago.
Okay.
What's nice about that is if I play it, I can adjust it and make it, what I want, rather than trying to do it over. I can just make a few adjustments. But guitar and bass, you can't change that stuff.
Right.
It's not like if I change this note. No, on a keyboard you can, but not playing guitar and bass and stuff. So I like to keep it live too, like all the stuff, most of the stuff I do. If I start off like with the click track, I'll stop it and then just keep going on it. There's a real cool story about Time to Move that we record. I mean, back then money was very short. Tape was valuable, so it wasn't like we did 5 takes and then pick your favorite ones. And we recorded like 3 songs in one day, and then we went to go play up in Canada somewhere. So I always made a cassette tape, and I listened to it. And Time to Move, it sped up too much. We get excited in the studio, and there's no click track. And so I'm like, but I really love the beginning of it. So I have the date. There's more. I could go on for an hour telling you all this weird stuff that happened with it. But anyways, they came back in the studio. It was just me, Rich, and Tim. Rich Nelson, Tim Marco on drums, Rich Nelson on bass, and I was on guitar. So they came back 2 weeks later, and that song, if you listen to it at the end, there's like a longer break before the last chorus kicks in. I punched in with my toe on the 24-track machine to re-record the ending without speeding up so much. So it's actually like 2 weeks later, the ending of the song was recorded. And it's just funny to tell a story because nowadays, as you know, with digital, you could easily just piece this thing, change the tempo. You can say back then you couldn't do that. I mean, even to the point of there wasn't auto punch, and I didn't have an engineer, and so I'm literally playing guitar with a long cord going out to my amp so the guys could hear everything well in the same room, and I have my foot up on the remote control, and when that part comes up, I would use my toe and push the record button.
Wow, that's cool.
If I hit it wrong, we have to do the whole song over.
What studio was that in that you recorded?
That was my studio. The first studio I built, Cellar Sound Studio, that was on Michael Road on 8.5 Mile in DeQuinder.
Is that where most of the Bittersweet Alley material was recorded in, or all of it?
All of it, except for the 3x5. That's after I left the group. I recorded their 3x5 album in my second studio. That was in Sterling Heights. That was a real nice studio. Sounded great. It was mathematically, laid out precise for sound frequencies and bass traps and all that stuff.
Right. Was Time to Move then pretty much your first Bittersweet Alley song that, got some attention as far as the radio and what?
Yeah, how it kind of happened was I'm not a singer, never have been, never will be. So Dave used to sing and so did Bill. I wrote 70% of the music, I guess, in the band. That's just because I couldn't get Dave to write more. He's an incredible songwriter, but it's like pulling teeth. I wrote that song, and for some reason, I don't think either they didn't like it or they didn't want to sing it or something, so I sang it. And we went and played live. And about 3 weeks later, we're in Canada, and RCA Records came out, and they heard us, and they came backstage and went, "My God, we want to do a single on you guys. We love that one song." And we're all thinking, "Wow, what song?" And they point to me and go, "The one you sing." And I go, "I don't sing." They said, "No, that's a song we want to do." And I said, "No, we were going to have Bill sing it. I don't want to sing." And so we tried that, and it didn't work. So I ended up singing it. That's how it came about. Kind of strange.
You say you're not a singer, but you're listed as lead vocals. I thought you did a lot of singing.
Oh, I did, because I had no choice, is what I'm saying. I mean, it's like I never considered myself a singer.
Oh, I see.
Because the other guys just sing better, and I really don't like singing. I don't, so that's how it went. But then after I sang that song, they were like, the record company's going, "You got to sing more songs. You got to do this." Oh my gosh. So that's why on the album, I'm singing the majority, but the other guys are singing some. And the second album, that's when I knew I was leaving the band. So I said, "Look, let's get Billy to sing more." So I think I only sang 2 on the next album. So Billy sang more. And because they knew about a year ahead of time that I was going to leave the band, so didn't tell anyone because we don't want to wreck it, for them.
So what was the reason for leaving the band? Did you just have other interests, something else you wanted to get into, or?
Yeah, I was producing. I produced Rut, Toby Red. I'm going blank, but there was like hundreds of groups. I was just producing group after group. It was just constant. I was booked all the time in the studio. I was enjoying that more than going out on the road, and people thought I was nuts. "You're leaving the biggest band in the state."
Yeah.
For what? There were some, things I was like, do I want to leave that? It's kind of crazy. But, I just, it was just something I really wanted to do.
Right.
And after I left, that's when the group Ready for the World called. And I said, I'm a white guy that plays rock and roll. They're laughing. They're going, yeah, but the sound is really great. They heard a song I did for a group called Rebel Heel that was on the air, and they loved the sound of it. Yeah, they came in, and I wrote half the album with them, and we had a top 10 hit with Love You Down that I play guitar on.
So in the studio, when you produce these other bands, were you guest starring on some of these things, like you just said, playing guitar on some of their tracks too, or just producing?
On certain things, but I'm not. I mean, I didn't take credit on it. You know, like there were groups around town, Red Alert, Beldrin, all those guys. I mean, a lot of stuff like Beldrin, I played everything. Erica's record, who's my wife, I played everything. Toby Red, I think I played keyboards, but no guitar. I mean, see, certain groups you can see it. I mean, Toby Red, you would never play guitar because Tony has such a great feel and sound.
Right.
You know, that's his thing. So, you know, it wouldn't fit. So I would do stuff that was more, you know, if someone needed something, either they couldn't do it or come up with a part, you know, like when Erica came in and we were doing Temptation Eyes or whatever. I mean, she doesn't play any instruments really. So I said, well, I'll do it. So that's the first time I started playing everything, you know, and I would just lay it all down and they come in, do vocals. And a lot of people don't know that I played all this stuff on all these albums, you know, like I did an album called Lost in Control. That's on my website. It's a classical album. And
oh, wow.
Of course I don't play violin and stuff, but I wrote all the parts and the true classical piece. So it's kind of neat. It's different. I like that kind of stuff. You know, people go, why'd you do that? I don't do it for anyone except I just have a feeling like I like classical music. So I hear stuff in my head and start laying it down. And then I did a kind of a jazzy album and, you know, so it's always different, changing.
Yeah, did you have any training as far as guitar? Did you take guitar lessons at an
No,
early age?
I just over and over practiced.
Wow.
You know, with everything, keyboards, drums, the recording studio, producing. Even when I went into computer programming, you know, I taught myself JavaScript and all the code stuff and invented a home automation system.
Because you talk about writing classical music without having some kind of training. Was that difficult to do that as far as writing parts for classical music?
No, because I mean, how I see it, and I guess if I probably knew how you're supposed to do it, I'd probably be intimidated and not be able to do it. But if you hear it in your head, then you can play it. And that's why I always thought, yeah, okay, I'll just do this. So I would think of a melody, and then all of a sudden all these sub-harmonies and counter melodies would come into play, and I just start playing them all. Sometimes I'd lay it out on guitar, like to pick the notes just to get a feel, but you know, I can play keyboards pretty good. There's videos I have online, a song called Morning Lily that starts off with me playing piano, but I would love to hear an orchestra do it someday, you know, like a full-blown. That would be so cool.
Were you influences in any way classical? Did you have any favorite classical artists?
No, it wasn't anything I picked. I mean, I'll listen to classical music, and I love, you know, Beethoven, Bach, Tchaikovsky. I mean, all of them. It's like there's pieces from everybody that I go, oh, I love that. I love that. I'm not so much I only listen to this guy. You know, they're all, I mean, and a lot of this stuff, I hate to say, is I can't stand it. But, I mean, some of it, I don't like when they get kind of like when you play guitar and you see these guys, how fast can I play?
Oh, I know.
You know?
Yeah.
It just becomes mindless. It's like, you know, especially nowadays with so many people just playing stuff, you know, that's what I really liked about Eddie Van Halen is he could play super fast, but he's melodic.
Right.
He would, that's rare, you know.
Pick your places. Yeah, because he was obviously very talented. You're right. There's so many of these artists that just think speeds about everything, and you lose the feel. That was one of the things I really loved about the Bittersweet Alley music was there was so much going on there as far as that you could feel it. You guys went up and down. You had the ballads, you had everything, and phenomenal harmonies, the vocal harmony.
Thanks for saying that, because we always wondered, are we doing this kind of crazy? This is too much. This is this. But I was always under the assumption that if we like it, just put it out, and maybe someone else will like it, you know. And
and they did.
That's what I'm doing. Wait till you hear my new album. It's an instrumental, but it goes from. Some people have said it's one song sounds like metal, and another is me playing acoustic guitar. Sounds like a late night jazz band or something. But if you listen to the whole album, it flows, and I'm getting, if I can say, great response from people that have listened to it so far.
When is that supposed to be out, or when will that be?
I'm hoping to get it out before Christmas, you know, to just get it. But it's not the end of the world. It's actually, I completed the final mix today, so it's actually done. Just got to work on the cover and, you know, all the logistics of putting it all together and getting it.
Will that be on the streaming services like Spotify and all
Yes,
that?
yeah, Spotify and Pandora and all of them. I'm going to, I think, wait a couple months before I release it on there because, like that BSA live album that we put out, I just put out the CD of it. I was going to do Spotify. Actually, I forgot about it. But since people can only purchase it to hear it, the sales on that were incredible.
I'm sure.
Like, oh, I get it. You know, and it makes sense. And not that I'm trying to be greedy, but the money goes to charity.
Right.
And as you know, you get songs played on Spotify and Pandora, it's like 0.0001 cent of a cent.
Right.
You know, so I'll get a check for, you know, $8. And I'm going, wow, pretty crazy.
The new album, will that just be on CD then, other than the streaming? Do you have any ambitions of put out anything out on vinyl? Because I know vinyl's big time again, the resurgence of it.
I was thinking that, especially this album, because it's recorded so well. It sounds just monster. You know, it's all 24-bit. If, you know, people into the digital recording stuff, 24-bit, 92K, it's top. You can't get better than that. And it would go onto vinyl real nice. So it's something I might do. But everything I do, I have to keep in mind that worth putting up X amount of dollars to do a bunch of albums. If they don't sell, then I'm stuck with them. Well, that money could have went to St. Jude. And, you know, like I'm very cautious how I go about it. Like now I found a place, Zazzle or something. It's an online service. They will print BSA t-shirts and mugs and my moment mugs. And I even got Christmas cards.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. They're selling really well because I get notifications and I'm going like, holy cow, you know, with 250 of this card and this card. I'm thinking that's great. So they do that, and there's no, I don't have to stock it, which is good. There's not as much money as if I did stock it, but it's, you know, just better. I can do more because you would laugh when we first did the BSA t-shirts. We're thinking, well, we'll sell maybe 50 of them or something. You know, we didn't know. So we ordered, I think I ordered 100. And within 2 days, we're at like 250 in sales. I'm like, going, oh my God. So we start printing more and more and more. And so it's going, well, it's just me and my wife here. And we're like, we can package this. You know, when you're doing 500 t-shirts, it just went.
That's a lot of work.
Great. Yeah, it was just, you know, packaging, make sure the right, this, whatever. And someone says, I got the wrong size. And someone's bitching. I'm like, you know, this goes to charity. Quit bitching at me.
You mentioned, you know, the success of the Bittersweet Alley Live CD that you have. What about putting that on vinyl? I mean, if it's doing that well on CD.
Well, I don't know if the people that are buying the Bittersweet Alley My stuff are vinyl great. Because, I mean, like really, not to insult anyone, but not too many people listen to CDs anymore. But the BSA fan following seems to listen to CDs. So, you know, I went, okay, I'll do that. So that's when I reissued Project One. This was my first solo album from 86 or something. I just put it on CD and started selling. It's kind of neat, you know, to do that. But I will look into it and see if I can just press up mall.
Well, even if you reached out to the fan base, like on your Facebook page and stuff, you know, just threw the idea out there and see if there was any interest in that, you know, that might help you to help determine whether or not you want to go down that route. Because I know it's an extra expense. There's all sorts of stuff as far as that.
I did it the second time with t-shirts. I thought, oh, you know what I'll do pre-order. So I just posted online. If you order, then you get it, this whatever. And it just, I don't know if people don't get it or what, but it caused a bunch of chaos. And it was just, it isn't worth it. And that's when I went, okay, I'm going to have this company do it all. They're going to do everything. And it makes it easier. But I'm thinking maybe if I can find a place, maybe print up a couple hundred, then it wouldn't be that bad.
Right.
It'd be cool to hear it on vinyl. Because,
I love
the sound
vinyl.
of this is sweet.
I love vinyl, and I'm in my 60s, and I know quite a few people my age group that are into vinyl again. Because new vinyl
yeah.
especially sounds incredible. I mean,
Yeah, it's
I've got a lot of CDs also, obviously, and
right.
hell, I've got 8-track. I've got you guys on 8-track, reel to
Oh my
reel,
gosh.
CD, and cassette. Oh yeah, I'm serious. I transferred it over to reel because reel to reel to me is the absolute best.
Oh yeah, that's how you get. Yeah, I mean, to me, owning studios this whole time, to me right now, the absolute top pinnacle is the 24-bit 92K.
Oh yeah,
because that's just perfect.
right.
The reason I like tape is to use tape compression and the sound of tape, like what tape does. But nowadays they have a lot of simulators that get real close to getting that sound and feel. But yeah, vinyl, my favorite thing of it is the album cover. I'm sorry.
I know.
I love pulling out an album cover and looking at there's words and stuff. I mean, that was just so cool.
Liner note, yeah, that's something that I think that got so lost. I know I worked for Harmony House, so I was there when that whole switch over to CDs went, but there was nothing like vinyl. I still own probably 1,000 vinyl records, and I've bought new stuff, and if your stuff was on vinyl, trust me, I'd be buying it right away, and no hesitation. Was there ever anything as far as video for you guys, like concert video of any kind that was completely shot that just got shelved or anything like that from back in the day?
All the stuff either got misplaced somewhere. It's just, I mean, it's just weird how things just got lost. Like I say in my book, there's a story called Time to Bake. The actual masters of Bittersweet Alleys were lost from RCA. And 40 years later, a guy at Michigan State University finds them in their vault. And the only reason he knew what they were, he said some guy brought it and says, "This says BSA. Is it Boy Scouts of America?" I go, because on the side, that's all I wrote was just BSA.
Right.
He opens it up and goes, "Holy crap, this is Bittersweet Alley." So then he emails me through Facebook, whatever like that, and I'm like going, "Get out of here." I thought this guy joking. He sent pictures, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So then, that tapes that old, you just can't play. You have to bake them.
Right.
You actually put them in the oven and bake them so the oxide gets back on. And he transferred them there. They have a lab at Michigan State University and transferred it digitally and then sent me the actual tape with a little thumb drive. And then about 2-3 days later, Doug Podell calls and says, "Hey, we're doing a thing to put for the, Mark Farner's on the record and Ted Nugent, and we want to put BSA." And I'm like, wow, this is the Lord taking care of me.
Right.
Because I don't have this tape for 40 years, and I just get it, and Doug calls. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I'll remix it and put it on. So that vinyl, do you have that vinyl?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and how does time? See, I haven't even played the vinyl yet, but time moves on.
The whole album is phenomenal. I interviewed Spaz from the Cadillac Kids, and they did a record release kind of party over at the Cadu Cafe with them and the Reefer Band and the whole lineup. And I was like, "Well, where's Gary? Why is Gary not?" And they're like, "Well, he's out in Arizona." I'm like, "Oh man, he should have got the band back together for this gig, for one gig, or in any way, form, or fashion, or even as a solo artist, come out there and play Time to Move." Other than that song, are there favorites on there that you're fond of from the early days? Some of the songs on there
from the BSA stuff.
Yeah,
when I remixed that, I listened to some of the other stuff. It was just cool. There was quite a few of them. I sound like but I really did like song on Some Like It Hot called "Running."
Yes,
I really like that. That song I think is just wrong song, and I like "Forever."
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, what's the other one? I'm sorry, Dave sings "I Didn't Feel Anything." Can't find the words. Those are songs, since Dave sing them, those are ones that he came up with the main part of the idea. He would come in and go, "Here's what I got," and he wouldn't finish the song. Finish it. That's all I got. So I would have to either write the middle or write a part or whatever, and then that's why both our names are on it. But his songs were so much fun. It was just like a riot play.
Yeah, they're all really good, and they're really catchy and pop rock. And I know that everywhere you play, places went crazy. Always a lot of women at your shows. I know that. I remember that, which is great. Yeah. Let's get into your book a little bit. Why did you write this book? What was your reason behind it?
It was an accident, really. People say I'm a funny kind of guy. I don't know if it's funny looking or funny attitude. I'm not sure, but we go to parties and I tell stories about the past and everybody laughs. And my wife said, "You should write these down." So as soon as she said that, I was, like I say in the intro of the book, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a writer. Then I realized I was a guy that barely graduated high school. English is my worst subject. So I was like, oh God. But my wife Erica was an English teacher. She knows all that stuff. So she's like, don't worry, just write it down and we can fix the punctuations and all that stuff. And so that's how it started. Then just started growing. Like everything I do, I didn't stop. For 3 months solid doing it. And I actually put the whole book together, all of the layout, design, pictures, because I'm good at Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, all that stuff. I mean, I did years of doing it. So laid the whole entire thing out. And I do that for 2 reasons. One, I don't trust anyone else. And I'm very like, oh no, I want it like this, I want it like that.
Right.
Also because it's expensive. I didn't know. To lay out that book professionally, you're talking close to $40,000.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was like, it's just crazy. So that's when I got publishing deals to put the book out. But they weren't taking such huge amounts of money that I did it through like a back doorway. It's still being published by a company, but I own all the rights to it, Like I own the hardcover myself. So anyone that orders a book from me directly from my website, they get a hardcover and I sign it and do something. And more money goes to St. Jude because
I didn't think of that. I work for Amazon, so I have to support my company, so I got your book through Amazon.
There you go. Yeah, that's the best thing.
But it's a great book, but if I would have known that, could have got a signed copy. I may have to do that anyway. It's a really interesting book. The whole idea of a time capsule, not just your musical career, but your family life growing up at that time, because I grew up around the 70s also. Fascinating because times have changed so much, as I'm sure you know, and so many things were so different back then. Any chance that you're going to do like a follow-up book to this? Has it been successful enough that you may consider doing something like that?
I mean, I have more stories. It's like every time I start thinking, I'm going, oh my gosh, and I sketched them out. And luckily, when I was younger, I would sketch things down just really quick on like a yellow pad of paper. I would just go, hey, we played here and we did this, whatever. Hey, I almost got robbed this place, kind of thing like that. And just from seeing that, when I opened up my treasure chest that is in the book too, I explained that, all these things just flooded back to me. And I was like, oh, wow. So yeah, there's a possibility. I mean, I was really surprised how well this is selling. And from what the publisher says is if there's a way to get this to the next level, it could really explode. Like you said, people relate to it. It's kind of like there was, what's that movie? Oh my gosh.
The Wonder Years?
Yeah, the Wonder Years. Yeah, that's it. That's what people have said. They go, this kind of reminds me of that, where you're picking days. And it's mixed in with family, rock and roll, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's fun. And people get to relive it and see silly pictures. Well, people also need to, just so you know, it's on Audible. So you can purchase it if you listen either on iTunes and it does come with a PDF file. So all the pictures you also get those when you get the audiobook, because a lot of people like the audiobook because I narrate it and it's, my inflections and voice and, that kind of stuff. But it was fun doing it. It was great doing it. And anything I can do where I create and I can help someone else, I mean, that is so fantastic to me. It's great. I thank for buying my art, the Christmas cards, the album, all that stuff. It's fantastic.
Are you producing any groups out there now in your studio, or is it mostly just your stuff?
No, it's just me. I mean, I don't have time to do enough of that. I'd like jump from writing the book to, to doing this. I just go back and forth and getting older. And also, I hate to say it, the ears are not, I can't go for a long time because of Tim Marco on drums blasting a cymbal in my left ear.
Mention, if you can remember, some of your favorite shows. Was there some of your favorite places that you played back in the day that you have memories of? Because you mentioned you have some stories, I'm sure they're in the book. Something that really sticks out?
Well, of course, the big places, Cobo Hall or say Cobo Arena, Pine Knob, all the big venues. That's always so cool because all your idols have played there. But, the fun stuff growing up was playing Harpo's and the Ritz. You remember the Ritz? And another place that was fun, did you guys ever play Jaggers?
Yeah, I remember Jaggers, yeah.
That was a fun place, the Token Lounge, and we played all of them, all over Canada, too. Yeah, Canada was a riot, because we would play, it was just a zoo. It was just, yeah, we had a real good time there.
Did you tour it all in the United States, anywhere, Midwest, New York, any place like that?
Yeah, we went, we warmed up for, somebody printed a list, because I really forget, the groups that we were warming up at the time, Rick Springfield and Cheap Trick, Mountain. Remember Leslie West?
Oh, Mountain? Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah, that was a treat. In Excess. I'm forgetting all of them. There's a list. Your brain kind of gets like, they just all become a blur.
Well, it was a long time ago too, I'm sure. So
yeah,
I understand.
The ones that really stick, I just remembered. Remember the group Scorpions?
Oh yeah.
Well, picture BSA warming up for the Scorpions. We got booed off the stage.
Where was that at?
Chicago. In Chicago. The ashtrays were flying and shit. We got through like half a song. They still paid us. The guys in the band were really cool. They're all German.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's okay. But we're like going, it's okay. We almost got killed. They're laughing. But they were really good guys. Everyone that we played with just about was just super nice people, which it should be.
Right.
There were a few that have a definite attitude.
Sure.
They think they're like next to God or something.
Yeah. Were there some local groups that you like playing with? Are you open for, or are they open for you that you recall?
Oh, there were a ton of them back then. I mean, it's like, problem is, if I mention some of the names, I know someone's going to say, you forgot mine and I'm your friend.
Yeah. Okay.
But I used to love going to see, like on a night off we ever had it, going to see, Kobe and Strut and Adrenaline and The Look. It was such a great scene. A bunch of guys, and everyone was friends and no one was at each other's throats. So it was really cool. I feel bad for new group, if there are any, because there's nowhere to go. There's no nothing, it's just...
With the whole thing with the labels now and everything more or less streaming, the CDs are going away, vinyl's kind of coming back a bit, but it's just not the same thing. And here in Detroit, of course, the club scene, it's just very small for so much of it, as compared to back in the day when there were clubs all the time, and people were going out, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday. It didn't matter because everybody was playing everywhere, and you could see anybody any night of the week. You could see you guys on Friday, Toby Red on Saturday, or vice versa, or whatever. Totally different time.
And it was a great scene with the DJs, Arthur Penhouse, Steve Costin, Doug Podell, Dave Scott. I mean, all these guys that go out there and promote the band around it was great. I mean, like BSA had the song, Time to Move, which was really big in the Midwest. People didn't realize it wasn't being played around the world. A very strange thing, because it's even in rotation now since that album came out. Doug and WLZ play it on the radio. So I was like, that's just fantastic.
It is. Yeah. I don't listen to much radio anymore, but I go to Spotify or my CDs, although new vehicles don't have CD players, so that's going away also.
Yep.
So you said the new album, you're hoping to get it out by December, or hopefully before the end. Perform it all anywhere out in Arizona. Did you ever get out and play any shows of any kind? I mean, solo shows or anything like that?
No, but it's something on my list of doing. Well, see, here's what it is. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be 5 solo albums that I put out. 2 of them have vocals on it. My very first one, and then one called In Wonderland. Well, the songs in there aren't really rock and roll blast, like, get out and do it. But my 2 instrumental albums, the one is Entropia, it's a red cover, and my new one is called Untethered, is the name of the album. Those 2 have some serious rock or jazzy field dance stuff. So I wanted to get together a band to do a show, maybe hour and a half, mix in, maybe do 3, 4, maybe top 5 vocals throughout the night, and the rest would just be guitar orientated, with killer bass player and, keyboard playing that stuff. The problem arises, I'm in Arizona. 90% of the people listen to my stuff and buy my stuff are from, Detroit, Ohio, in that area. So I would have to come out there, get the band together, and, kind of like do a little tour or something out there of maybe 10, 20 shows.
People would come see it in a minute. You're still famous out here, man. I don't know if you know that, but...
No, I don't. That always hits me weird. I'm not a guy that I don't know. I was raised that way. It's like, what do you mean I'm famous? It doesn't make sense to me. I just play guitar and have fun. It's good though. It makes me feel good. I mean, it's like I work very hard what I do, but I enjoy it. So if I can make people smile, I just love it. Who knows? Maybe I will put it together and do something. Come out there for a couple of months.
The other thing I was going to mention, I love playing your CD. Well, actually, I do it through Spotify when I'm cutting the grass because it motivates me. I'm serious. years, I'm out there cutting the grass, doing the leaves, and matter of fact, just last Sunday I had it on there. Just play the whole thing.
Time to Move?
Yeah, Time to Move. Well, all of it, the whole CD. But yeah, it just really, it charges you up and stuff. And I've always loved the melodies and the way you guys wrote, and your performance were always top notch, because I've seen some video clips over the years, and of course saw you several times back in the day, and it was very disappointing when you left the band. I'm glad that you're still working at it, still doing it, still recording, and we would love to see you out here. You know, the other thing you could do, if you could get some musicians there too, is do like kind of a live over the internet show, and then you wouldn't have to travel.
Wow. I never thought about that.
Almost like a Zoom show, you know?
But there's something about, I mean, you know, it's been how many decades of that feeling of standing on stage and having people out there, and, you know, having your amplifier behind you, and the notes just is ringing forever, and the lights. And it's just,
you gotta miss that.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I mean, it really is a drug. And it's like, if it goes right, it's perfect, you know? But I'm such a perfectionist. All the guys in the band would be like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, your amp's too loud. Turn it. There's too many highs on this. And they're like, ah. And that's what I did. But I guess, you know, that's who I am. And that's what makes me a producer, because I like to fix stuff or create stuff. I'm constantly doing that, you know. And I found a woman that would stay with me.
Well, you mentioned that your wife is 10 years younger than you. So is mine. So,
yes, you know, it's like, you know, okay. But she's like, maybe you should have went for 20 years, because I would keep up with you. I'm like, no. I think I'd have a heart attack.
Well, Gary, I'm not going to take up any more of your time.
Okay.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk. I hope the book continues to sell well, and the Christmas cards. And
if people want to know any of the stuff for sale, it's at GarySpaniola.com. Can you put that online and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'll mention it all.
Okay, great. And then I will send you an email as soon as I get the new album done. Let you check it out.
Yeah, I'd love that. I want to get a copy of that BSA Live.
Yes, definitely. That's only if you start cutting your grass listening to Entropia.
Oh, of course.
Check that album out.
Of
has
course.
Some really good stuff on it. It's instrumental, but it's very cool.
I'll be listening to it when I shovel the snow.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's coming up really soon.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for thinking of me and, calling.
All right, buddy. You take care now, and thank you again. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Gary Spaniola from Bittersweet Alley. He's also done solo work. He's got a book that's been out that's been selling really well. I'm glad to hear it. You can buy it on his website. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Moments, Detroit Musician. It's a pictorial. It's stories that, will touch your heart, make you laugh. It's really, really well done from a guy, as you heard, that was not an English major in college or high school. But it's really well done, and all the proceeds for that and all of the Bittersweet Alley stuff that he sells go to St. Jude, which is a great cause. So I applaud the man for doing that all. Anyway, this is Jimmy Jive, and as I like to say, keep rocking.
His ways